Hi everyone, this is Lolly from lollytops.com. Welcome to my first ever video tutorial, and today we're going to be making these little rolled flowers, and I'm going to show you how to put them onto a little frame. So here's a close-up of the little flowers, and what I did was I actually went to the dollar store and I found this little chicken frame, and I popped the chicken out and took the frame off of the back. And then at Hobby Lobby or a craft store, you can either buy a mirror to stick on the inside of it if you wanted to, or you can put like a little piece of cork back there and make like a little tiny mini cork board. If you decide to go the cork board route, you're going to want to make sure that you put a piece of cardboard behind it, because when you stick your thumbtacks through here, they would go right through, because these little cork tiles are really super skinny. So this just kind of gives it a little bit of extra padding so that it doesn't pop all the way through. So some of the different materials that I use for my flowers are, I do some in felt, so I'll show you how to do those, and then I've also got some made out of brown paper sacks. Let's see if I can get this to focus. So this is one of those, and then I've also just got some regular two-sided paper. So if you decide to use go the brown paper sack route, if you want to try that, this is one of the like 1,000 brown paper sacks that I have. I just crumpled all of this up, and then I took some distress ink from Ranger, and then I simply cut out this little shape that I'm going to show you here in just a second. So if you wanted to go that route, you just take that distress ink and rub it over the top of the paper, and then you get this really neat little kind of crinkly paper effect thing. So what you're going to want to do is, there's kind of two different routes you can go with these flowers. You've got kind of this flat route that just has, you know, this just real pretty center, or if you want more dimension and petals like this one. The two different shapes that you do, and I'm just going to draw it here for you so you see what I'm talking about. For the flat one, the shape that you're going to do is just a circle, and just a really perfect circle there. And you just kind of spiral it up into a little coil. So if you cut this shape with just the super straight sides, or roughly straight sides, you're going to get that flat one. But if you want kind of the petals and all that pretty stuff, the shape that you're going to want to cut is more scallopy. So this is just kind of a rough idea, and I'll show you here in just a second. This is just to show you a rough idea of what the shapes, the two different shapes are, and the different flower effects that they make. So I've got, like I said, I've got a bunch of different ones that I've already cut out, and I'm even going to cut one for you here really quick. I'm going to show you how to do the scallopy one, and you literally just kind of go through and cut the scallops as you just kind of turn the paper and cut the scallops as you're going along, and you're just cutting in a spiral. So, and you can make big scallops, you don't have to do these like little teeny tiny ones. Just the more scallops that you have, especially as you get closer to the middle, the more you'll have the like really pretty petals on the outside. So I've got this guy all cut out. The next thing you're going to want to do, and this just helps to kind of make the coiling process a little bit easier, is you're going to want to use some tweezers. I have these jeweler's tweezers, and they have this little scoopy thing on the bottom. I use these for when I'm working with seed beads, because you can scoop them up and put them back into your teeny tiny containers. But really the most important thing is that you just have tweezers that have a straight, you know, a pretty decent sized straight end. I also have these Fiskars tweezers, and these are really good as well because they have a pretty decent sized straight end. And I think Cutter Bee also makes some really good tweezers. A friend of mine showed me her pair the other day, and those were really awesome too. Those work just as well. So I'm actually going to take one of the darker ones. I'm hoping that you'll be able to see what I'm doing. You need to remember that the side that's facing up, that side is basically going to be the color of your flower. So if I wanted my flower to be white with blue on the outside, I would curl it from this side, but I actually want it to be this real pretty tealy blue color. So what you're going to want to do is you take your tweezers and you grab the end and you get a pretty decent little hold on it, and then you just start twirling. And this technique is really similar to quilling, but quilling you just use straight pieces of paper and they don't have any scallops or anything on them, and you kind of get a little bit of a different effect, but I really like quilling too. This is just kind of a different technique. So you just kind of twirl your paper together, and it's going to have a tendency to want to slip off of the end, so you're going to want to keep, you know, a finger or a thumb or something kind of at the bottom so that the paper doesn't slip off. And you can see that it's making this little twirled up shape. So you just keep twirling along, and it's definitely trying to slip. The bigger the flower, the more it's going to want to slip on you. So just keep that in mind, that you're going to need to have a little bit better control. This little flappy thing here on the bottom is really important that you keep a pretty good size. This one's probably too small, but you want a pretty decent size flap, because you're going to put a little glue dot here, and I'll show you in just a second, and that's how we keep the whole thing together. So now that you have this thing all curled up around your tweezers, you're just going to want to take it and kind of grab it in the center and then just release the tweezers. And then as soon as you do, the whole thing starts to kind of unravel, which is okay. So this is what it looks like all unraveled, and you see how all the little scallops turn into these real pretty little petals on the side. I probably should have done this with a colored piece of paper on the outside, because you'd probably be able to see it a little bit better, but that's okay. So now that you have this, it's kind of, you know, flippy and floppy and just kind of does its own thing. You're going to want to anchor that bottom with that little flap I told you about. So what I like to use are Zots. The bigger the flower, I usually use the larger Zots, and then I use the medium and smaller Zots if I'm making like little teeny tiny flowers like this guy. I used the little tiny Zots on him. He's just a little fella. So what you're going to want to do with your Zots, and if you've never used these before, they're super duper sticky. So it's a clear adhesive dot thing. You're going to want to take it and stick it on the bottom of your little flap and press it down there, and now he's stuck there. If I have a really big bottom, or if I'm making a really big flower, I'll put like 2 or 3 Zots down there, but this guy probably just needs just the one. So you've got your little flap, and kind of the idea is that you want all of these edges of your petals to stick to that Zot. So you might have to curl it and kind of twirl it back up a little bit, because I've been kind of manhandling this some. And you're going to want to twirl it back up so that it gets a little bit tighter, and then you're just going to want to press the Zot, or press the bottom flap down, and then you just kind of squeeze it. And you don't have to worry about, you know, it getting crazy. If you have some like extra weird flaps or whatever, just kind of tuck them in and don't worry about it. It's just part of the charm of the flower. So now that you have this flower, you're like, ooh, look at all those awesome white edges. Not really. I like to do glimmer mist on these flowers. So thus enters the Magic Cheese Box. This is a Velveeta cheese box bottom, and for my little projects I use these little tiny boxes, and then for my big projects I have like a 1.5 foot squared mega glitter box that I use. So all you do is you just put your little guy in there, and I use, of course, shocking, turquoise glimmer mist. And I'm like really plowing through this stuff. And because, you know, whenever you use glimmer mist, I know they tell you, you know, don't shake it up. You're supposed to roll it and be all special about it. This is not, you know, this is going on a 3-dimensional item, so you don't have to worry about all the splatters and stuff that come from the bubbles from, like, you know, over shaking it. So don't worry so much about that. So it only takes a couple of little squirts, and I'm actually kind of going to do a little bit on the side so you can see that you can do some other stuff with this as well. Like you can actually get some really pretty effects. Let's see if you can see it on the side. But see, the white edges are basically all gone. And when you have paper that's a color on the back, like this one for instance, let's see if I can get it to focus. There we go. See, this has the two-sided paper, so it's kind of makes like a little bit of a neater effect, but I also put glimmer mist on this one. And I wish you could see it because it covers the white edges and then it puts this real pretty little sparkle on it. So I totally love this stuff. Now I have glimmer mist all over my hands. Like I said, some of the others, the materials, you can use those brown paper sacks and you can make flowers with these. You can use felt, And then you can even use material. It's a little bit trickier to get these together when you use just material, but they do come together pretty well. I'll show you really quick the felt version because I want you to see how to glue it. Because it's a little bit, I want you to use, if you do like material or felt, I want you to use a special glue, and I'm going to show you how to glue it. Because just putting the glue on the little flap isn't going to cut it. You're going to need to put the glue basically all along. Let me see if I can get it to focus. Come on. Hello. Okay, maybe not. Sorry guys. Still learning this video camera thing. So just kind of roll this up, and if it starts to uncurl, see how I said that it always wants to kind of go off the end on you? It really truly does. You have to trust me. And you just roll it all up, and this is the bottom, remember, and there's your flap. So what you're going to want to do is take that guy, and this one's a little bit trickier. Sometimes when you pull out for making the fabric ones or the felt ones, the center will pop out too. I just usually just cheat and cut the center out, so it's no biggie. So you have this nice flower, and you get some felt glue. It's like the silliest looking stuff, but it's amazing, amazing, amazing stuff. And you've got this great big bottom, and you just dab all your glue so that it is all into all those little edges, because you really want it to, you know, to really hold really well. So of course I left the world's smallest flap ever at the bottom, and I would probably go ahead and put a piece of paper or something to anchor it a little bit better, and I'd probably glue the paper to it, and then I would trim all of the edges up so that you couldn't see the paper, and then you have this really nice flower. If I had done more scallops when I was cutting this, it would have really it would have had like more of these really neato petals. So really get in there when you're cutting and make lots of those little edges, because the more you do, the more awesome petals you get. Like I think on this one, if you see on this flower, see how nice and how petally it is, and it's got all those like great ridges and everything. I just love that. So all you really do after you've made all of your flowers, I like to create, I make like leaves, and this is just a stamp that one of my friends gave me, and I clear embossed, or I actually didn't clear emboss, I embossed with that Cricut green Zing embossing powder, and then I cut it out. So you can use, you know, these little guys if you wanted to, or you can just cut some little leaf shapes out if you wanted to. I was noticing that I very geniusly, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I drew the little veins on there, and then I proceeded to just stick them on backwards. Way to go. So anyway, you can put these little guys here, and then you just you can glue all of your little flowers that you just made ever so carefully, and put all those in there, and ta-da! You have a little flower frame. And I also use these same flowers. If you remember, I shared this little resolution book that I'm working on, and I used a lot of my flowers that I made in this little book, and I wanted to show you inside that I've got little pearl brads and then little teeny tiny pearls that I stuck into the insides of them. So you can do something like that too. This is a Prima flower, but that's like one of the felt, and that's another Prima flower. So I kind of mixed it all up with some different flowers and ribbon, and you know, some of those leaves that I cut out, just a bunch of different stuff. But I love putting the little pearl inside because I think that makes it extra special. Oh, and I cut this one from vellum. So like for weddings, if you wanted to cut a zillion of these little flowers and use them like vellum flowers to decorate, and then you could put your color in the center. So many fabulous ideas that you can do with these. I just absolutely love them. So that's it. I was trying to keep it super short. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and I will be back again with another video tutorial. Have a great day. Bye.